nerds? Welcome back. This is the second part of the atmosphere videos. So if you've not already watched the layers of the atmosphere and heat transfer video, go ahead and watch that one first, because that is going to be that's going to be the intro, the first half of this, and we're going to be starting on part 2. This is condensation cloud formation. Okay, so we're going to start with this right here, condensation. All right. So before we were talking about dew point, relative humidity. So the dew point, as a refresher from the last video, is the is how much humidity is when it is rather excuse me is when the relative humidity of the atmosphere around you of a certain area gets to 100%. Okay, that is the dew point. It's 100% relative humidity, meaning that the air in that area is holding all of the water it can, and no more water can be in the air. Okay, and when that happens, condensation happens. Okay, when the dew point is reached and the air cannot hold any more water, okay, you get condensation, which is a change from a gas to a liquid. Okay, so this is when water vapor changes to form water droplets. This is again why when you breathe out on a cold day, your breath appears as foggy, because there's a lot of water in your breath, and that water first starts by condensing into water droplets before cooling down and diffusing to water vapor. Okay. So, when condensation happens in the atmosphere, in the lowest layer, the troposphere, with us, we see clouds. We get cloud formation. Okay. Now, there are multiple methods of cloud formation that you don't necessarily need to know, but I want to go ahead and let you know. Okay, you've got convection, where you've got the warmer air rising up, and that causes any water vapor in that air to condense once it cools down up higher up. Okay, if you've got topography, so if you've got warm air, if you've got any air rising up over a mountain, once it gets higher up, it's going to get colder up there, and the dew point is going to drop, so it's going to condense into clouds. Okay, you could have a convergence of air, so you can have a lot of air coming together. All of that air has a lot of water in it, which causes condensation again. And then this last one is if you've got lifting along weather fronts. So if you've got cold air here, and you've got this pocket of warm air, well, it's not going to sink down below the cold, because we know that about density, right? Warm things are less dense, so they float. Cold things are more dense, so they sink. So this warm air is going to be sitting on top, and that's going to allow it to create clouds as well, to condense. Okay, so what is a cloud? We've been talking about clouds. What is a cloud? A cloud is a collection of millions of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. So the way that this generally works is that there is water. Okay, there is air and water, and there is water vapor in that air. So as the sun hits the sun or any other heat source, any other energy source hits this air, it's going to hit the particles that are in the air, and they're going to move around faster. They're going to warm up. As they warm up, because what we know about density, they become less dense and they begin to rise. As they do, they begin to cool down a little bit, because as you get higher into the atmosphere, it starts to cool down. As they cool down, okay, you can see here the blue dots are representing moisture. The higher they get, the cooler they get. The cooler they get, the more water comes out of vapor form and into liquid form, forming tiny droplets. And when it gets high enough, a lot of the water is out of vapor form and in droplet form. So a question that I get all the time is, why is it still floating? And the main reason is because the droplets are small enough that it's only creating this kind of fog situation. And the density is such that they are up there, and they're not quite dense or heavy enough to fall or to sink yet. When that does happen, that's when we get rain or snow or other precipitation. Okay. So let's talk about the different types of clouds, and you will actually need to know the different types of clouds. So first ones that we usually think of when we think of clouds is cumulus clouds. Okay, cumulus sounds like accumulate, right? This is when it's all coming together. Okay, these are your big puffy white clouds. They tend to have flat bottoms because they're kind of sitting usually on a different type of air. Okay, so when these cumulus clouds get really large, they can produce storm clouds that we call cumulonimbus, and we'll talk more about. And you'll probably have a a practice assignment about naming clouds and how to name them based on the different things. Because cumulo means that they're a cumulus cloud. Nimbus means storm or lightning. Okay. The next type we're going to talk about are stratus clouds. And these are probably another type of cloud you're pretty familiar with, but don't think about as much. Okay, stratus clouds form layers, and that is what stratus actually means. Okay, to stratify is to form layers. Okay, so stratus clouds are clouds that form in layers. These cover very large areas. All right. Nimbostratus clouds are dark stratus clouds that produce light to heavy continuous rain. Whenever you're thinking of like an overcast kind of sort of rainy day, that's you're getting your nimbostratus clouds. But if you're just thinking of just a flat overcast day, just a big flat layer of cloud, that's a stratus cloud. Now, cirrus clouds, these ones you probably see a lot, but these are a little bit different. These are kind of thin, kind of feathery white clouds found at very high altitude. When they get thicker, it usually indicates a change in weather because more moisture is accumulating up in that area, and that usually means that there's going to be some sort of pressure difference or some sort of weather front happening. Okay, so here we get into the naming systems, okay? So each of these prefixes or suffixes means that we are getting it's some sort of descriptor, okay? So alto, okay, these describe clouds at kind of a middle altitude. Alto generally means kind of middle high, like not super high, but kind of middle high. Cirro describes clouds that form at very high altitudes, okay? So a cirrus cloud is going to be way up there, okay? Nimbo means likely to produce precipitation or to storm. Okay, nimbo or nimbus is usually where you're going to see that one. Okay, and then fog is a stratus cloud that formed close to the ground. This isn't a prefix or anything. This is just fog. What is fog? Fog is a stratus cloud that is formed very close to the ground to the point that we can walk around in it or it's literally on the surface. Okay, so when just as a little bit of a practice, you can actually see when we think of cumulus, we usually think of like the number of big puffy white clouds. But if you've got those puffy white clouds in layers, like you might see from an airplane, you're going to be seeing some stratocumulus clouds. Okay, higher up than that, usually going to be a little bit further apart. You're going to see altocumulus, and even higher than that, real like pockmarked, we call them mackerel sky. This is a cirrocumulus. You can also see this in these others. Okay, normal stratus, it's down here, big thick layer. Alto stratus, okay, again, thick layers of clouds higher up. Cirrus clouds, very, very high up, kind of feathery. Cumulonimbus, you could have cirronimbus, stratonimbus, okay. Lots of different types of clouds. Okay, these words aren't that hard to figure out. However, it can be a little bit tricky whenever you're trying to figure out, if you are trying to come up with a name, it can be a little bit trickier. If you're just trying to recognize it, it should be relatively easy. Okay, and that is it. So I had said that it was going to be a shorter video in my last video. So thank you guys for watching. Okay, make sure that you're keeping up. Make sure that you're checking your Canvas and your emails regularly. And I will see you in the next video. Gucci.